What's up?
What up, my man? Welcome to everyone here that's watching, and obviously, thank you all for being here for Personally Injured, Season 2, Episode 9. And Ian, we got a very special guest, man. Probably the most interesting man in the world, and I need to make this introduction because there's nobody like this guy, all right? He's a bear wrestling, judge kissing, Akron zipping, snitch dissing, immigration wishing, SAO alum, Bill Barner from Barner Legal. What up, my man?
Welcome to the show. And did you just spit bars like all in the intro?
Straight
like,
Ric Flair, baby. Woo!
I'm impressed.
I mean,
I'm having a hard time
holding
holding these alligators down after that.
That's right, man. Look, if you're gonna be wrestling bears, you're gonna get the flair. That's the way it's gonna be, man, and it's the truth. I ain't even making this up, Ian.
You sent me the video, and I say we just dive in, dude. No, I don't want to warm up. I don't even want to stretch. I'm like Deshaun Jackson. I don't even stretch. We're gonna get right into Caesar the Bear. I mean, but we gotta play it. Hold on. We're gonna play it, and then we're gonna dive into this.
All right, good.
All right.
Get him! Fucking bear.
I don't know.
Awesome.
This is like a stalemate
The bear is real awesome.
Richard said he ain't getting it in the ass from the bear.
Rape him, Trey! Rape that bear, Trey!
I got $1,000 on the line here. You think you can pin the bear? The bear's getting bored with you. What the heck? Come on. Grandma wrestle harder. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. So now that everybody's seen this, Bill, first of all, what prompted you to get into the ring with a bear? And secondly, you couldn't have gone with like a cuddly named bear. You picked the one that was named Caesar? Like, did you have a choice in this? Like, you gotta lay this out for us.
Big
How did this
C's.
go down?
Well, yeah, there's not a whole bunch of these bears doing this, you know. So to answer your question, I didn't pick them by name. You're not buying a puppy, okay? You're not going, oh, I want this one, name this. So, but it was an opportunity. I learned about it. I was a certified legal intern. You remember that in law school? You're allowed to try juries if there's a lawyer in the room. If you were at the prosecutor's office, it's in Canton, Ohio. And there was a lawyer there who had told me how he had wrestled a bear in college. I was like, there's no way. And he explained the whole thing to me. And so at that point, it was like, it was a challenge. I had to find this bear. And I found that the bear was like a week before I graduated law school.
Wait, so you hunted this bear down?
Akron. I hunted the bear, yes. I tracked him.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I tracked him from city to city, and I found he was going to be here. And so, yeah, it was like a week before I graduated law school, and I had the chance to wrestle this bear. There was a lot of people. It was at a bar in Akron, Ohio, called Posh, and Posh was like the fancy place that you couldn't wear sneakers into. Like, you had to have dress shoes on. But they laxed the dress code for bear wrestling night.
Well, obviously. I mean, how could you get any traction in dress shoes?
Exactly.
Let me ask you this. How many pops did you have before you got into a fucking ring with a bear, man? Isn't that like a prereq? Do they just like feed you shots or something? Like, what do you do?
Well, I had made the decision, and I had sought out the bear, and I had signed up for him without any pops. Without I was really excited about it. I don't know why, but you're a young, you're 25, and I can kick anyone's ass in the bar. A kind of young man's mentality. So none for me to sign up But while I was waiting for my name to be called, I'd be lying if I didn't say I had a couple Budweisers to calm the nerves a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what was the feeling when you walked in to the octagon, the cage, whatever it was? Was it just immediate regret? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah,
just size-wise.
If you ever talk to somebody who's gone skydiving, I never have, but everyone who I know has gone skydiving, and you go back and forth in your head, what am I doing? I don't have to do this. I can step out right now. And then the other side of you goes, wait, you're already here, you're signed up, you're in line, you're going to do this, you've already made the decision. And so it's comparable to what I've heard the skydivers have said to me, first-time skydivers.
Hey, was this bear muzzled?
He was not. He was not. He bit me in the head and he bit me in the leg, and he clawed me all to hell.
So what was there? What did the waiver look like on this? Was it just like you're screwed? Sign here.
Exactly. Like a friend of mine who was a lawyer, he was a prosecutor. I was kind of an understudy of Lou Ganeri, and he said to me, "That waiver must be absolutely outstanding." I said, "No." I'm like, the waiver says this is a 600-pound North Atlantic black bear. They could kill you in a moment. It could hurt you even quicker. You understand this? Like, there wasn't a whole lot of the fine print, you know?
Yeah. It just had his picture, like, signed here. Hail Caesar, bitch. Get ready. So, was the bear, like, pissed? Or did he just not even care? Was he like, another one of these, swatting at you like a gnat?
It's like if you ever play with a big dog and they scratch and you get a welt, you know?
Yeah.
It was playing with a really big dog. If that bear wanted to hurt me, I'd have been hurt. You know, if that bear wanted to kill me, I'd have been killed. You know.
What?
That's awesome. Wait, so do you know whatever happened to Caesar? Like, where is Big C's nowadays?
Well, after this happened, like a week later, I graduate law school. I have a garage sale. I sell everything I own, and I moved down to South Florida to study for the bar and to eventually, become a prosecutor and get my life as is here. But this was about a week before that. And sometime after that, after I moved to Florida and I was a prosecutor and everything, I had got a whole bunch of messages, emails from people because the bear had apparently killed somebody. and at some other point,
at that, but Jesus, man,
what?
A bear
like a
killed
trainer
somebody.
Or like an opponent?
I don't recall the details. I don't want to speak on that. Whether it was a trainer or someone. I imagine it was a trainer. I think if it was like a public casualty, it would have probably had more news. But at any matter, I'm now a prosecutor at the state attorney's office. I'm working with you guys now.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm assigned to the Hollywood courthouse, which is where you have 10,000 cases a week, but they're all driving without a suspended license. Driving without a license or driving suspended license. And a guy comes to my office and he says, I'm a federal investigator. I'm digging into the Ohio bear wrestling circuit. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, who put you up to this? Was it Ian? Was it Moncy? Was it Doug? Was it Carter? Who put you up to this? And then he badges me. And I'm like,
oh, shit.
And then he pulls out a manila envelope and he starts pulling out these 8x10 professionally developed photos of me and this bear, all these different angles. And he said there were 7 agents that were following you and photographing you that night. And I sat there, I said, oh my God, after all this hard work, my career is over. I'm going to be taken down as a,
animal abuse or some nonsense?
I don't know. I know it's not good. When someone puts a badge in your face and then shows pictures of you doing something.
Fed. Yeah.
I know as a prosecutor that that's not a good start to a conversation. Yeah. And so at any matter, but he explains to me, he says, listen, no one's coming after you. When we approached the guy who owns the bear, his name was Sam Bazzola. So we approached the guy who owns the bear. with these photographs, and he said, "Oh yeah, that guy, he's part of the act. This is like a carnival, a circus. He's part of the act. He is a professional bear wrestler."
Oh
And
my God.
So the guy says, so now I have to come all the way to South Florida to track you down to ask you, are you a professional bear wrestler? And I'm sitting there in this cubicle as a state attorney with like my, my law license and my whatever on the thing, and I'm like,
The glue wasn't even dry on the frame.
no, I am not a professional bear wrestler. And so I get subpoenaed later,
Oh my
the
God.
following year, for these federal hearings in Cleveland. And right around the time that happened is when I ended up opening my own firm, and I was set for trial that week.
Right.
And I sent that to them, and they said, "We forgive you of the subpoena. You don't have to come testify."
What?
So I never thought about it much. But several years later, I got to thinking one day, I was just sitting at like a sushi bar near my house, and I wonder whatever became of Sam Mazzola. Did they take the bear? Did they put him in prison? Did he? And that, I will leave that with you, Moncy. I gave you the news article. I don't know if you want to pick up from there. You know what happened.
I'd rather you say it. It's a much better story coming from you than me, because you lived it. I just read about it.
Well, if you look up Sam Mazzola, bear wrestler, NBC News, he was found having choked to death on a sex toy on a waterbed with a leather mask on with the eyes zipped shut. And so a few years later, when that movie The Tiger King came out and they showed all these people with the wild animals, I looked at my wife and I was like, no, I want to say I know these people. I know these people. I've spent time with. This is exactly who these folks are.
Oh my God.
So nothing in that documentary surprised me.
I
after
love
my
it. You
dealings
wrestled the bear
with Mazzola.
that was brought to you by the Gimp from Pulp Fiction, baby.
Zed is dead.
Zed is dead, man. Zed is dead.
I could live
I'm
1,000
not
lives
even
and
gonna
never have a
tell you
story
how-
like this.
I'm not going to tell you how my grandfather got this watch into my hands.
Speaking of watches, that's kind of like how me and Bill reconnected, man. For some reason, we drew close talking about this YouTube middle-aged wristwatch reviewer named Archie Luxury. And if you've ever seen Archie, and hold on, we'll put up a little clip on Archie over here.
Next question is, how can you be a real estate professional and a prostitution operator? I mean, fuck me dead. Your moral compass. Do you have a moral compass, Matisse? Fuck me dead. You've got a Range Rover? They are fucking trouble. They are trouble. I don't understand why the hell the Europeans think the Brits make great vehicles. They are pieces of fucking shit. You wait till you get some service bills in for that fucker.
The best part about it, he'll review your watch collection. But if you start talking shit to him, he just loses it. He explodes, all right? And the best content he has is when he loses his shit, all right? So and that's kind of like where you just heard all these terms, like probably that I've said to you before, like shitters, or fuck me dead, or anything along those lines. It's kind
Fuck
of
me dead.
all these lines that I've learned from the pontiff, Archie Luxury. And the one thing he always says, you got to have a wristwatch check. And now that I got my kids going to private school, I'm a poor man. I won't even say I'm a poor man. I'm just not all the way to the level that I want to be, because I don't even wear Rolexes anymore. I'm like a straight up Tudor guy. I know it like Rolex's little brother, just a little respectable, so people don't think that like, I'm like a loser, but that I don't have any money.
Did you get rid of the sub?
No, man, I got the sub. I still got 5 Rolexes,
All right.
I still got a collection.
Do you have the Grand Seiko Snowflake still?
Still got the snowflake, baby. Still got the
Okay.
snowflake.
Okay.
Yeah, look, man. I've got 5 Rolexes in the lineup.
Nice.
3 Tudors. I got 2 Grand Seikos. I got an IWC and I got my old Panerai that I used to have back in the day, which I still like to wear, even though Panerai's kind of dead. Pam is dead.
Strap monsters.
Strap monsters, baby.
Any strap you want without going and seeing a jeweler.
Yes, exactly. They come with a little screw in, so you can put them back in.
Instead of traveling with 3 watches, you travel with the watch on your wrist and 2 extra straps. It's a lot easier.
Yep.
Well, Ian's got a good story about that, especially like Rolex, and what a dickhead I was from watching Archie Luxury, especially since we were like Stan Kaplan together, and we're just talking shit because I can't help myself.
It's not that big of a deal. Like, I don't think you were a dick. We're just boys being boys, but yeah, we happen to be in the same...
He's a dick. I work with this guy.
So we happen to be at the same hearing, like same judge, and same calendar call, whatever you want to call it, or motion calendar, I don't even remember what it was. And I'm like a year out from the state attorney's office. I had bought my first decent watch, and I'm making payments on it, okay? And I'll circle back to that and why that's, in what we do, somewhat of a necessity, because it's almost comical at this point. But my wife had bought me my first, nice pair of shoes. Like, I can't even claim credit that I purchased those while I'm making payments on my first decent watch. And you're sitting next to me, shooting the shit, whatever. They're going through the alphabet on the cases, and you take your pen, I'll never get a tap on, the heel of my shoe, and you're like, those are nice, man. I'm like, oh, thanks, man. Yeah, man, Mel got it for me. And you're like, now you got to get you one of these. And that Moncy voice, you lead in with the Submariner, and I was like, I got this. And you're like, what is that, Omega? And I'm like, yeah, dog.
I'm like, who you think you are, James Bond, bro? Get out of here.
I'm like, kinda. I've been trying. Then literally seconds later, they call my hearing, and I'm like, oh, come on, dude. Now my confidence is just shot. Moncy's here, checking me on this, catching strays, and I got to get up there and argue this now. I'm just shook. But it was all good, dude. Because at the end of the day, the irony of this whole watch game that cracks me up is anytime anybody asks me what time it is, I reach in my pocket and go for my phone. No matter how solid the watch collection is, people are like, why do you have these watches? And I will never forget sitting at, it was a CLE, and there was a pretty high profile defense lawyer, insurance defense, and I think at that point doing insurance defense, and he talked about how he literally is eyeing up and down the plaintiff's attorney, top to bottom. What kind of shoes is he wearing, or she wearing? What kind of watch do they have on? Can they afford to litigate this case against us? And I'm like, I apparently need to. This is part of the uniform. You got to have something decent on your wrist. I don't even worry about setting the time because I don't even look at it. But that's part of the uniform to show, if we go to war, I can hang in this battle of attrition.
You're like my wife. My wife walks around with 2 of the Rolexes she stole from me, and they just got the wrong time on it, the wrong date, everything, and I just can't handle it, bro. I have to just grab it off her wrist and make sure that I get it right, dude. But here's the thing, and I'm going to tell you this, Ian. The reason why you reach into your pocket to go get your phone out is because your pants are a little too loose. You got to wear some tight pants like Big Monts. Then it's just a little hard to get the phone, so you got to look at your watch, bro. That's the trick. Tight pants.
I mean, I feel like the baggy ones are coming back, and I was feeling good about it. Now you're telling me I got to go get skinny jeans.
Well, you have lost some weight.
Well, you guys know Andy Warhol, the artist, the great American artist. Andy Warhol, he was a Cartier tank collector, and he never wound or set them. But when someone asked him the time, he would say, "Oh, these aren't for telling time."
Spot on.
But it's true.
Spot on.
It's true. So Bill has a great collection too, man. He's got obscure watches, man. He's got his review done by Archie, and Archie didn't blow up on him or on me. So we're doing all right for ourselves, all right?
And Ian, by the way, be proud of an Omega. I've got the Omega Speedmaster, the manual wind.
I have the manual wind Speedmaster 50th anniversary. That's the one Moncy dogged me on. I got the Gemini 2 blue with the white dials landing, moon landing one. I got the James Bond titanium one. I got the James Bond Aquaterra. And I got I don't even know what it is. It's the Seamaster Planet Ocean 600-meter one with the tan strap and the brown dials. I just got that one. I love it. But
so you're an Omega enthusiast.
Yes.
For me, like right now, I got Rolex on right now. I love Rolex. You know, there's many watches I would love to get, but I always like things that are a little bit different. Like, you know, the special edition stuff that Omega puts out, I think is really cool. Like, I like that aspect of it. But, you know, the Rolex market is, you know, they got stores with watches that aren't even working in there because there's no guts in them. And then if you want, I mean, you guys know, you want something, you know, secondary market, you're going to pay two, three times what it's worth. Easy.
Well,
on a used watch.
Well, that just shows you how little I knew about watches when I was dogging you out at the state attorney's office. Because there is, I'd beg you to say, I'd say that the Omega Speedmaster has probably one of the 3 most important watches horologically that's available for people to purchase, man. I mean, the fact that it went to the, you know, that it went to the moon, that it went to space, you know, I mean, come on.
Allegedly. Some people don't believe it, bro.
Oh, dude. Well, yeah, probably not. We may get into some of those
Hang on
sorts
a
of people
second.
later.
You didn't tell me it was that kind of podcast.
No,
Is this a flat Earth podcast? Did you
We-
guys rope me into something?
we ain't going there. I don't even want to go near the 10-foot pole.
No, we don't play politics. But anyways, man, thank you for being here, Bill. I gotta ask you, man, because you did get into it a little bit, but what brought you to South Florida? Because like you said, you're wrestling bears in Ohio, then all of a sudden you come to South Florida and you're a state attorney. So what brought you down here, man?
Well, you just said it. Do you realize, and I'm not trashing Ohio, I'm a Browns fan to this day, I bleed orange, but do you realize how bored you have to be to go to a bar and wrestle a bear? Like, do you realize how out of ideas you are? And that might have been the moment where I said, my God, I can't live like this.
But why Florida, man? Out of all places, you're just like, fuck it, I'm going to the shadiest place down south, and I'm coming down here.
There is a reason. I did, while I was in law school, I visited New York City, Chicago, beautiful, but just as cold, just as windy. Didn't solve that problem. And I briefly, for a wedding, you know, when he's a wedding, you're in and out. You don't really get to see the culture. But I did take a trip to California. And that's a long trip to take to visit family over holidays. And there's a lot of culture shock. And then I found as I went, when you get past southern Ohio and West Virginia, it's and I just mean this culturally, it's like you're in the deep south until you get to about Palm Beach, like what they call the Tri-County area.
Right.
And Broward, for me, it almost felt like a warm Chicago. It had that eastern vibe to it. It didn't feel like the deep south. There was a multicultural, and just like Chicago was, but it wasn't as cold and windy. So
Yeah.
it was a good place for
Definitely
me.
not.
Well, we're glad you came down here, man. It just, you know, life at the state attorney's office wouldn't have been as interesting without you there, man. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So, not only about the state attorney's office, man, what made you want to be a prosecutor? I mean, like, that's kind of like the main thing, how we all got started. I mean, I could give you, my reason, and I think I've told everybody this, I just fell in love with law and order, and I didn't really know what else to do. So I ended up going that route. I always wanted to do it. But what made you want to be a prosecutor out of all things?
Well, the only thing I knew all along is that I wanted to be a trial attorney from, you know, the start. I went to Akron, Ohio. Akron, Ohio at the time was not top 10 anything except for trial advocacy. They were top 10 trial advocacy. Like the one thing they really shone through on. And so I wanted to be a trial lawyer. And I kind of settled on Florida for the reasons I explained. And I like the idea of being a prosecutor. 2 reasons. One was that I would, the prosecutor has some power. You go into a courtroom and like there's a line of all these very experienced, very, well-respected, most of them lawyers. and a line to talk to this, little guy who just got out of law school, and that was the prosecutor. And it's really cool, you know what I mean? It's really cool to have a badge and to be the person that people have to talk to, and when you're a college student, you're a law student, like, you've never had any power. No one's ever needed you for anything, and so that was appealing. I definitely want to be a trial attorney, which is appealing. And of course, the kind of, well, do you be a PD or are you going to be a prosecutor? Well, the prosecutor, you get to, as I understood, you get to go get the bad guys. And so who doesn't want to go get the bad guys? And then, I don't know if we'll get into all of how did you become a defense lawyer, but there's a joke that a lot of us former prosecutor turned defense lawyers have. It's that I became a prosecutor to get the bad guys. The bad guys never showed up. And so I ended up going to just helping people who were having problems with the law.
You were just wearing the wrong division, buddy. All right? Even though, and I'll get to this, I think you owe a lot, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I recall you and Adam being in front of Judge Berman, correct? At any point when you got...
Oh, yeah.
And if you want to get your chops in being a trial attorney, especially in county court, you got to be in Judge Berman's division. Because all he did would be like, we're trying 3 cases this week. I don't care what's happening. So you pick them, state, we're going.
I'll tell you, I have a lot of Judge Berman trial lawyers, because he would come roast us afterward. Me and Ariel Sabin were, Ariel Sabin. I don't know if we're allowed to use names.
Oh yeah.
No, man. He's a great guy, and he does what me and Ian do, man. He's also a personal injury attorney.
Fred Berman comes down after our trial, and he starts roasting Sabin for like how he just kisses up to all the jurors. Ooh, you wear a sweater. I like sweaters too. Oh, you have a jacket. My mom has a jacket, and he's just roasting for that. And so I'm laughing, and then he turns and looks at me. Berman does. He's like, he. I'm like, what? What do I do? And he immediately just starts lampooning me, and he's like, my uncle worked at a factory in Ohio, and he told me that. He just immediately started roasting me.
I've been roasted by him many a times too, man. Don't worry about it.
She was my girlfriend at the time. My now wife also worked at the state attorney's office when I did, and she had a trial in front of Judge Berman. And in the trial, one of those, whatever you call them, those on the ceiling, there's those square tiles on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And one of
That's
them
where I used to hide
breaks
my
open.
Malpross memos.
Exactly. And a rat comes down in the middle of this trial and just lands on a chair and scurries off. And so it was maybe a week or 2 later, I'm picking a jury and Berman's the judge, and you could hear the rats. Remember that, when you could hear the rats on the ceiling?
Oh my God, I forgot about this.
And he stops me. Oh, counsel, excuse me, hang on. He stops me and he says, you guys hear that noise? Those are rats. And if you're going to be a juror, you're going to live with the rats. But don't worry, we live with the rats every day. And you know why we live with the rats every day? Because you guys won't vote for us to have a new courthouse. And then he goes, okay, go ahead. I'm like, thank you, Judge, for warming them up.
Yeah. They're going to be so open and wanting to talk to me now. Good God. That is insane.
It is insane.
Now, they built a new courthouse, but they connected it to the old one. And, rumor.
Which was the new one, right? When we were there, the old courthouse was the new. And then they tore down the old and built the new, right?
Well, the old courthouse could only be considered a shelter for those rats, because if they knocked it down, the rats would run into the new building.
Yeah.
So they said, let the rats have the building, and we'll build 2 new ones.
It was theirs. I mean, we couldn't take it. They owned it already, man. But dude, so leaving the state, man, what made you leave the state eventually, and what did you get into after that?
Well, I went into private practice with Adam Rawson, and we ended up in our own firms subsequently after a few years. We were both prosecutors at the time. there was an old man who had, I don't want to get too much into the weeds of the law, but an old man that had a pipe in his pocket, and he was charged with a misdemeanor carrying a pipe in your pocket. And by the time the case got to me, the state attorney's office had the pipe. You guys know where this is going.
Yeah.
Tested,
Scraped it.
and they found trace amounts that at some point someone had smoked cocaine through it. And because my guy had priors from like the 1980s, like a couple serious robberies like from the 80s. So now he's an old man, and you guys know how the scoring system works. He had enough, pipes in his pocket to open the whole thing up, and he's scoring like 4 years prison. And we all wanted him to go to trial. I was the prosecutor, the judge, public defender. You could see he was an old man, and you could just see he just didn't have any fight in him anymore. Just didn't. And all of us said, why don't you just go to trial? Like, these cases, they don't all end up in a conviction. And he said, it's whatever. And judge, and I apologized to the man. He said, it's okay. You're just doing your job. And I had to go home that night and say, is this my job? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is this my job?
And
To
let me
put
guess.
an old drug addict in prison, and that was when I went back within a week and put him on notice. And I'm not trashing the profession. It's a great profession. They need good people over there. But you asked the question, and that was kind of it for me. I just want to be a trial lawyer. I wasn't hell bent on just being a prosecutor my whole life.
I had a similar scenario where, not to dive into it all, but it was a case that should have been broken down or dropped, probably dropped. And I was told by my supervisor, let the jury walk him out the door. And I'm like, you're not going to try it. I got to go try it. The judge is going to beat my ass about this BS case. And the solution to this is go try the case on a case that we can't win. We're going to lose. And it's let the jury walk him out the door. And I'm like, okay, that's enough.
And that was the tough part, being a state attorney at the time where we were at. There wasn't very much prosecutorial discretion. And going back to like the Hollywood courthouse, as you were talking about that, I'll never forget who I was there with. I was there with Jeff Morris. I don't know if you guys remember Jeff. Jeff was also an assistant state attorney with us. Great guy, man, just totally unassuming. And we're in there, and at the state attorney's office in Hollywood, you actually had the discretion to file your own cases. And Jeff was just not filing shit. To the point that whoever was the supervisor at county court, we all know who it is, I just don't want to name names, showed up one day and he's like, Jeff, what the fuck, man? Why didn't you file this case? This woman went into the airport and she had a knife in her baby's carry-on. And he goes, yeah, she also had apples, all right? And she explained to the cop that she only brought this knife to cut the apples for her
For the
kid,
baby.
for the baby. And you want me to file this? Needless to say, it was a lesson, that put so much in perspective. And Jeff doesn't know this to this day. I still remember like this one anecdote, But that was the point of being a state attorney when we were all there together. We looked like that was the best part about the job. We had each other, and we were able to learn so much from one another and move and use that to kind of develop our chops as an attorney and who we were going to be as people as attorneys. So, I mean, I owe a lot to the state too, and I'm sure you guys have the same sentiment on this.
Well, Monty, if I could add to that story about being a case filer, that's when I really got an appreciation for case law, because I learned working odd jobs, sweeping up at the theater, and I learned pretty quickly, whoever your manager is, your supervisor, they were doing your job like 4 months ago. Like, I learned that really quick working these odd jobs. And I also was given a employee manual, and no one had read it. So whenever a supervisor would say anything to me, I would just say, well, the employee manual says. And they would immediately oh, don't do that again. And they would scatter out, because they didn't want to admit that they didn't read the employee manual. And now whatever I said, they wouldn't know if it was true or not. And so when I worked at the state attorney's office at South Satellite, and I was in that position Jeff was in, I learned real quickly the value of case law. I started really paying attention to case law on these petty crimes.
Dude, I was the best supervisor, dude, because people would come up to me and be like, I'd be in county court, because at the end of my career, I wanted to go back down to county court as a supervisor, because I just wanted to chill and find a new job. So I'm in there, and I'm
Not to teach. I just want to find a new job.
So they come up to me. I teach them. Don't worry. I'd be like, hey, I tell all the kids, and I call them kids. They're like 3 years younger than me. I tell all the kids, hey, kids, if you ever want me to come try the case, I'll try it with you. I'm like talking to them like I'm Tom Skerritt and fucking Top Gun. I'll fly with you, Maverick, anytime. You know, I'll be your fucking wingman. Don't worry about this. I'll go take a trial for you. But they'd come up to me and be like, what do I do with this case? And I'd be like, I'd look them straight in the eyes, and I'd be like, I don't give a fuck. Do what you want. Just don't be a just be legit. Don't make me think that you're scared to go to trial. All right?
Yep.
That was the only thing that I didn't like. If you came to me because you just didn't want to go to trial, then I'd have a problem. But if you came to me like, look, this is kind of bullshit, I'm like, get fucking rid of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Out,
I
bro.
feel like that was the best part of the state attorney's office, and that if young lawyers aren't doing that, and you know, obviously you got to do what you want, what you're interested in, but that job forced you at a very young age to figure out what you wanted to do with the case, and then how you were going to do it.
Yeah.
And so much of what I see from a lot of the young lawyers, so for anybody out there in law school, whatever, and I'm sure you guys deal with it too, it's a lot of what do I do, what do I do, what do I do? Even at 5, 10 years, and you're like, when are you going to get to the point where you decide what you want to do with this case? And then we put together a plan of how we're going to get there. But it forced it on us. You know, 200, 300 files, whatever it was, you were sitting there saying, I got to figure out what I want to do with this case. And if you went and asked somebody, a case in point, Uncle Moncy was like, figure it the fuck out. I don't care. Do whatever you want.
Hey, I showed everybody how to take out the ceiling tiles and not get rats to fall on top of their heads when they were putting those no-pros memos away. But Bill, I gotta ask you one thing, because I know you said you went into criminal law, but and I know this because I think you found a very, very interesting niche. I think you're doing God's work, and I think like, you know, what you're talking about like right now is because you deal with putting families back together. Can you please explain to people what else you do in your practice? Because it's very interesting, and we have a lot of follow-up questions for you on that.
And the timeline's interesting. It's 2000, I go into private practice, and I'm doing, you know, as they say, rent law, whatever pays the rent, door law, whatever comes in the door. And, you know, now I will take a case. I don't know a single other lawyer more qualified than me to take it. But when you very first start your practice, you don't take anything you're not qualified to handle. You go, okay, I do this. All right. You know, so you do some family cases. It primarily was doing criminal defense because I was a former prosecutor, and I just found myself representing a lot of people from other countries, foreign nationals from all around the world. And I had seen, as a prosecutor, defense lawyers, a line of them, one after another. And I realized how many people in South Florida are not from the U.S. I'm from Ohio, where everyone's from Ohio, you know? It was amazing to me. And they would all say, you know, I can't tell you what's going to happen with your immigration status or your citizenship or your resident card and all that. I always thought to myself, and I didn't say anything, kept it to myself, I'm not judging them, I'm going, well, why the hell not? Why didn't you just go figure it out? So when I went into private practice, I vowed to do that. And I read literally every book that had ever been published on the topic. And 2 years later, in 2010, March of 2010, there was a Supreme Court decision called Padilla versus Kentucky that said now all the criminal defense lawyers have to give their clients immigration advice, at least on some level. So it just so happened that I already knew all that stuff. So I was the guy that every lawyer would call with these questions. And so it's people that you would think were your competition, or no, they're not my competition. We work cases together. It's where I get most of my business from. I have U.S. citizens who are charged with everything from DUI to attempted murder and everything in between. And I have clients who want to get a resident card or want to be a U.S. citizen and have no criminal record, but more than half is kind of that Venn diagram where it's either people who are seeking an immigration benefit who have a criminal record, or people who are not U.S. citizens who have a criminal charge. Either I'm their criminal defense, or even their other criminal defense lawyer got me involved to advise them both on how, like, what can we do to, excuse my language, to keep shit to shoe level and keep this at a point where we can possibly keep you in the country, and what can we do that would screw that up, and when to make a decision.
That's awesome, man. And let me ask you, because I mean, we're in kind of like before I even get into that, do you speak Spanish?
Still working on English. And when you get to court, they already have somebody there. So I've miraculous, this gringo from Ohio who speaks only English has run an immigration firm for 18 years.
And look, I'm a lawyer. I don't ask questions that I don't already know the answer to, right? So I mean, like, I already knew that you didn't speak Spanish. I knew you didn't speak Creole, but I wanted to like point out, like, dude, you're that good. You're that good that people don't give a shit, and your personality comes across knowing that you're warm and that you give a shit about them, that they still want the fucking gringo who's gonna go in there and fight for them like if he's wrestling a fucking bear named Caesar, all right? So, I mean, that's awesome. But, you know, going into this, I mean, and I'm sure you've got a question for you. I mean, like, what's the temperature like now with the whole immigration stuff going on?
Temperature is that it's exhausting. And this isn't a political rally. This isn't a right and left and that, but just to speak directly on it, it's exhausting. This current administration or current leadership, they will just say, we're going to do this now. And then like for example, two Saturdays ago, I was in my office the whole afternoon, a ton of people. All right, just announced that everyone's screwed and nothing's going to happen. No one's going to get any benefit. And I'm telling you that there's a lot of Chicken Little. You guys know Chicken Little? The sky is falling. There's a lot of like lawyers, especially. I saw them like TikTok and whatnot. The sky is falling. I had to call my clients. I'm like, just chill. This is what we're going to do. We're moving along as we had planned. There's no change in the law. This is what they want to see. We're going to present to them what they want to see. And it wasn't 5 days later that they came out and backpedaled on that had everyone panicking and had me calling all my clients. So it's just exhausting.
Sorry to ruin your day. In your weekend, you're probably scared, you know, you're already making exit plans, you know, or finding a place to go hide out.
This looks like I don't know what's going on, when in fact, it's because I'm like too acutely aware of what's going on.
Be better off just wait until the last minute. Instead, you're trying to give them the heads up.
Shake itself out and then we'll talk. But the thing is, I'm not being funny. I can't bear the thought. What keeps me up at night sometimes is the idea that I've got a dozen clients and their families that are at home a panic and they can't sleep because they've just learned that everything's been ruined, all that.
Of course. And look, it's not political that you're talking about. You're just talking about how you're dealing with the laws that are in front of you and what's going on in today's political environment. You are just somebody there who is, you know, trying to help these individuals who are dealing with a process and in something that affects them. And it's not a political statement of sorts. You're just doing your job.
Sure. I've noticed, like, me and Moncy knows, we deal with the the quote unquote street lawyers, the family, the friends. Now with ChatGPT giving this advice, and I've seen just a couple of people, you know, in conversations here or there. I have a family or I have a friend. You have a good immigration training, and they give you the thumbnail sketch of what's going on, and then you hear, you know, why did they do this? Why did they do that? And it's a lot of bad advice coming from that scenario. I feel like it's not hard for us to combat it, but do you find that that's like poor immigration, like overstaying a visa, or, you know, I'm going to do this to stay off the radar, like, and I feel like obviously it's predicated upon fear, but a lot of it seems to be like in the immigration side, people are getting bad advice, and things that could have been handled better had they come to you earlier, you know?
I've a professor for over 10 years. I've been mentoring young lawyers and students for even longer, and I've had a lot of employees. Anyone that's spent a significant amount of time around me has heard me say 100 times that an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. And to your point, you're right. People are educated and understand an issue. That's worth all the campaigning in the world, for people to actually, like, I remember, you guys remember Rock the Vote?
Yeah, of course.
Like MTV Rock the Vote. And yes, we should vote, but I always thought that was kind of, no, rock the issues. Tell people what the issues are and where people stand on how it affects you. Because if you can rock the issues, then they're going to care and they're going to vote. But just tell them to vote without knowing why.
Right. Vote blindly. Whoever mom and dad votes for, like that's not gonna work, man. Get involved, learn the issues that you care about, and vote in that direction, whichever one it may be.
Wherever you are on the political spectrum, I would say that my favorite quote from our former president, Barack Obama, and I quote this all the time to clients. There was an issue where something happened and it took 2 days for him to make a statement. And they said, why did it take you 2 days to make a statement about this? And he said, because I like to know what I'm talking about before I open my mouth. And I have to say that sometimes the clients, they say, I called you yesterday, and I said, yes, and I want to look at the status of your case, and I want to look at your file, and I want to make sure I know who I'm talking about, and I'm not conflating the details with some other case.
You didn't just know it right away? I love that when they hit you with the, you didn't just know? And I'm like, well, yeah, I was going to sprinkle my magic lawyer dust on it and just know immediately what to do, but God forbid I took a half day to research this and make sure I give you the right answer. Have you guys had the catch you at the elevator? Did you used to be a public defender? And I've had that one, and then I realized I prosecuted that person. And my response is, yep, I was a public defender. I'm not going to say I was an ASA, and I've realized I had my brother who was working at Enterprise. And this lady comes in, she's like, you look just like this boy. You look just like this boy who put my brother in prison for 5 years. And my brother's like, I work at Enterprise, ma'am. And he's like, what did your brother do? He's like, I don't know, something with guns or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. And she's like, do you have a brother? And he's like, nope.
Oh, God, man. Gotta hide.
Nothing worse than seeing a client or the opposition, especially what we do now, suing people out in public. Nothing worse.
I was walking out of court, and I had 5 hearings. And it was something in the air that day. It was multiple times I'm coming out of the courtroom, and this isn't to disparage public defender's office. Love public defenders; they do a great job, good work. But I'm walking the courtroom, and I'm just at this point I'm just annoyed. I'm looking for a reason to say something snarky. You know what I mean? And the third person stops me on my way out of the courtroom and says, "Hey, are you the public defender?" And I step back and I go, "Do I look like a public defender?"
I used it when I was at the state. I had this suit combo that had a mint green shirt and a white and green tie, and I stopped at Publix on my way home, and some guy came with me. He's like, "You know where the spaghetti is?" I'm like, "I don't fucking work here." And then I looked and I was like, that's my bad. You're right. The spaghetti's down there. Yeah. It's over there. I saw it.
Yeah. I think aisle 8.
I teach at the university, as I mentioned, trial advocacy, American government mock trial. And with trial advocacy and with a mock trial, I got to tell them how to present themselves. And I always bring a guest speaker, a lady, to talk to the ladies about how to dress. And when they asked me about that, I said, I have 3 rules that I live by in life. The first is, don't do any business of any kind in a gas station parking lot. The second is don't wear a red shirt to Target.
Yep.
The third is, don't tell a woman how to dress, and they've done me well. Yeah. They've done me well.
Is that Teen Wolf? You stick to that? The rest is cream cheese. Don't play cards with a guy don't date a woman with a tattoo of a dagger. Don't play cards with a guy with the last name of the city. And then he's
like always gets 8 hours of sleep.
12 hours of sleep. You stick to that? Yep. Bobby Finstock. It's amazing. Well, anyways, guys, it was a blast. I don't want to hold
Bill,
you guys up.
Thank
Bill,
you for coming, man. You're the man, dude.
Thanks for having me.
we're not worthy.
Yeah,
we're not worthy.
Anybody who needs a criminal attorney, immigration attorney, we're gonna put his website on the links, man. Hit him up. He's the man, and he will take good care of you and the family. Boys,
All right, guys.
All right. Take
Have a
care,
great
guys. It was
weekend.
fun.
man.